This is where it all started, gang. That little window there, that room was my adjusting room. Right there was the waiting room. Upstairs was a realtor who smoked a lot of weed. The smell would come downstairs and we would smell it. I'd have to ask him to please chill out to the nighttime. Within the adjusting room, the door right here was the bathroom that was not ventilated. So while we were adjusting, some days just did not smell that good. Parking lot. Hasn't changed much. There's a little more gravel than there was in the past. On heavy rainy days, this would become a mini lake. Cars would pull straight up to this hill. Some people would climb on their hood and jump on the grass to come inside. This little space was a blessing. When we opened up, we had no money. They fixed the deck. Back in my day, that deck was falling apart. The people would come in and go in the front. And during prime time, we'd be busy, so they'd sit on the front porch and eat dinner. I'm sharing with this video with you, you young chiropractors especially. And it could be anyone in any profession, because now people come to our current office and they look around and say, I want this. But I think it's important to see where it all starts, where it came from. And when you see this office space, you know, there are days I'd be in there, I'm like, this is a dump. And I had to resonate and have a high energy. Massive energy, so people didn't really see around them, but they felt the presence and what we were doing, our mission, our passion, and the tribe we were creating. And we started a heck of a tribe in this space, people. Many of these patients that started with us here 20 years ago are still with us, coming into us. We moved into another office about a year or so into this, and then to our final third office. And we're going to show you both of those, but you have to see where it starts. It doesn't start sometimes with the bigness that you see. It starts very simple. Tammy and I had no money. We had a baby at home. I would wake up at 4 in the morning and come sit in this office, and I would play Let It Rain by Michael W. Smith, and I would visualize people coming in the office, people walking in with dogs, moms with babies. I would visualize us being so busy that people would sit and wait on the porch because we had no waiting room really. And they would just sit and eat their dinner patiently. People would be sitting out there with sandwiches, etc., especially on nice days, patiently. No one complained that I know of. And like I said, on rainy days, they would pull up to this hill and jump across their hood so they didn't get their feet wet. How grateful I feel to those people that stayed around and got the message, and they still come to us. And you know who you are. You people are absolutely amazing. And I would sit in that space at 4 in the morning until I felt myself get filled with the Spirit, in spirit, fulfilled. And I would start to cry. And I felt it. I saw it. And then one day, someone walked in, a family with their dog. Another day, I saw people were waiting on the front porch because we were so busy. Another day, I was adjusting. I looked out the window, and someone jumped on the hood of their car to come inside because the parking lot was essentially flooded. But they didn't want to miss their appointment. They wanted to get their atlas checked. They understood the value of living clear. They got it. And it was that principle that we were able to educate and connect and bring out of people and wake them up that brought us to the next level. And it was all about serving people. It was never, and it still is to this day, never about the money we're making in collections, but it's how many people we're taking care of and serving. And it was about having the better space to be able to serve those people, to cut out barriers, because we knew the more people we saw, we can't have them waiting an hour and a half and eating dinner and sliding over hoods. We had to do better. So the money we made, we had to save and put aside to be able to go bigger, improve our systems to take care of people. We lasted about a year and a half in this space, and then we had to move on. Let's call it 2 years maybe. I don't remember exactly. But we'll show you office number 2. On office spots, there was a spot available right there that we could have used. Tom O'Neill, great man, really wanted me to go in there because he said as a doctor you'll have more visibility, etc. But then we pulled back around the back of this building, and there we are, that little building in the back. Check her out. So a couple things happened with this second office. Tom said, okay, you could do it. And I had to go in and clean it up, and it had been left alone for quite some time, had to be painted, etc. In the meantime, I had committed to running a marathon. One of our patients, Kathy, dared me to run a marathon with her group. And I said, I can't run a marathon. I'm not a runner. And she said, you tell your patients they could do whatever they set their mind to. I said, sign me up. So I trained with them for a little bit and then stopped because I was coming here at night till about 1, 2 in the morning, painting and knocking down these little divider walls for the that was going to go between the hairstylists, and I would take the spare time and come here and work and get up early and go to work. I was averaging about 3-4 hours of sleep, and I wasn't running. Forget that. And I woke up one day and it was marathon week. Tammy said, you going to run? I said, you bet my butt I am. I'm going to get through that thing because I committed to it. So I was committed, almost died during it, but we did it. Another principle was this office is about 3 miles from the other office, maybe 4 miles, but it's on the other side of the Berlin Turnpike, which is like the busy thoroughfare. And people were concerned that patients weren't going to come this way, weren't going to cross the Berlin Turnpike. And there was people that were negative, saying, I don't think you should do it. You're going to lose patients. I said, look, people value what we do. They will show up. And this feels right. Innately, I knew this was the space. And so did Tammy. So we kind of, when people would talk negative, I would blah, 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 cancel, cancel. And we did it. Interesting story about this space is we had a woman who came in, and it turns out they had changed her heart medication, and she went to lay on the table and she died, okay? And we were packed. We had about 20 people in the office. I was on the far table. The tables were really close together. We didn't have all the open space we have now. And I could see something was wrong the way she just dropped face down on the table. And the girl my staff that was helping her jumped back and she just went pale. And I ran over to her, lifted her up, jumped in the air, jumped on the table, revived her by digging my knuckles in her chest. Don't know where I learned that. We just innately did it. And she woke up and looked at me and said, are we finished? And I said, are you okay? In the interim, somewhere in the middle of this, I told the girls to call 911. We hear an ambulance pull up, and I'm going to flip this around real quick. The ambulance parked right in front of the door, very close. So what I did is I picked the patient up, flipped her around, sat her in a chair, and I didn't know what to do. So I went back to table 3 and started adjusting. Man, I was shaking, I was nervous, but I knew I had one purpose, and that was to take care of the people that were there. And as the medics sat with her in the room, the woman was trying to refuse going to the hospital, and they were trying to figure out what happened. And they had taken her blood pressure, which was very, very low. Her pulse ox was very, very low, like near death. And dozens of patients walked in around the ambulance through the front door. At that time, we had a sign-in sheet. They had the gurney right in front of it. They had to reach over to sign in, and then they would come around and stand off in the corner out of the way because she was sitting in a very small waiting room. And not one person asked what was happening. Not one person pulled up and saw an ambulance and freaked out and left. And we continued to adjust. And through the dialogue, they learned they had changed this woman's heart medication 2 days before. And one of the major side effects is it was stopping people's heart. And the medic looked across at me and said, because the woman's daughter dropped her off and she went shopping real quick and was coming back to get her. She said if she went in the back seat of her daughter's car and was going home, this woman would have died. Pretty much a blessing. But a really cool principle is the patients understood they were there in our office for one reason, that was to get their atlas checked. And they were kind of blinded as to what was going on. They were there for them because they saw that value. They found our office. I put that big blue awning up and it used to say "Got Life?" on it because people would pull back here and they'd be looking to their right at the big building. And they would call and say, I think I'm here, I can't find you. And the girls would look out the window and say, you in a blue van? Yes. Look to your left. Oh, there you are. So we would tell people, look for the big blue awning with "Got Life" on it, and they would see it. I mean, we had a sign and everything. They would pull in this parking lot, be looking. They were distracted at the big building, and they looked left, and there we were. Very cool, man. My landlord was amazing, amazing guy. Tom was a sweetheart of a man. And we were here for about 3 years. And then I had a vision. I wanted to have my own building. I saw it bigger, Clearview Sanitarium, taking care of more. We were getting backed up here, and it was just, we were at capacity where it was hard to serve more people. And I mentioned to a realtor patient, I want an office. I want to buy something between this spot and our first office. And she said, impossible. Nothing ever goes to sale here. You'll never find anything. You'll never. And I said, well, that's fine. You're not my realtor, but I will find it. And now we'll visit that office, the current Judson Family Chiropractic. Now we're heading to JFC 3, our final destination in Newington, Connecticut here. And I'll share with you an old-time chiropractor. I've got a lot of mentors, and you want to have mentors that are giving you insight and have as many conversations as you want. And this guy said to me the average chiropractor, let me get this off, bumpy, he's going to move 3 times, and I thought he was absolutely nuts. Well, we moved our office 3 times. You saw the 400 square foot office. You saw the 1,000 square foot office, where we went from serving about 300 to 500 to thousands a week at our current location. And that's a whole story when you're talking volume, because our volume has shifted through the years, depending on me, my energy, where I'm at in my life, with my kids, etc. When I was actually solo in the office, 2 CAs, we saw the most people we ever did. And then as my kids were getting older, I had to back off a bit, bring in associate doctors. We've had amazing, amazing doctors work with us in the office through the years. We've never had a bad one. I'm grateful for every single one of them, bringing in their energy, their time, their space. We were able to help them train, and some of them went off to start their own practices. Some of them have gone off and we've started practices with them where we coach them and help them, and et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things you want to think about, what I liked about this office is, one, it's 3 miles from my house. And we had looked at moving out further, probably been about a 30, 45-minute ride. But I wanted to stay close to the office space. So if my kids were on a Christmas show or they wanted to do something, baseball game, I never missed a game, soccer game, football game, I was there. And I would cut out of the office and my associate would cover the next hour or the 2 hours. Space was always there for me to cut out and be with my family. Now I'm driving upon here, I'm going to flip the camera around in a minute, what I call the corner lot. And this lot was, we were supposed to build an office. And like I said, they told me I would never find anything between the first office and the second office, from point A to point B, one corner of town to the other. And I saw it. I wanted it. And when I was in the second office, I would be driving to the gym in the morning, and I would go past this corner that was completely wood. And I just had this urge of me pulling in there. And I'm like, what is this corner? So I talked to someone who worked with the town. They said, come on in. They pulled the corner up. A woman owned the corner, who lived in Massachusetts. She owned all this area. This was the last space, and she made us an offer, and we went for it. And then I went through a whole set of plans where we were going to develop this corner, and we just wanted to put a simple office up, keep it humble, about 5,000 square feet, and I didn't want to spend millions of dollars on it. So our contract was, we wanted it between a $500,000 to $700,000 building, knowing that construction costs could change. Long story short, bids were coming in at $1.8 million, $1.5 million, and I'm like, that's not what we agreed on. We had a big fight. So one day I came to this corner, which I'll show you in a minute. Stay tuned. And if you haven't liked this video yet, like it, follow us, put the bell, ring it, share it with your friends. You know what I'm saying. So one day, I was supposed to go on a mission trip to Tobago. It got canceled because there was politics going on there that just weren't conducive to us going there. It was snowing out. It was a Sunday. I told my wife I need to disconnect. And I came to this corner. It was snowing. I bundled up, had myself an axe, and I was walking through, just chopping trees, listening to worship music, just trying to get my head straight. I was upset of the disrespect and the dishonesty of the architect at the time, ripping us off. He didn't care. He said, that's business. And I said, but that's not in the contract. And there was a big chain link fence with barbed wire that separated my property and the next. And I walked over and I was chopping. And this is a Sunday, and I looked through the link fence, and a car pulls up next door. There's a building. Guy gets out and walks in the front door. And a voice in my head said, go talk to him. And I'm like, bro, I'm not in the right state of mind. I'm filthy. I look like a madman. I look like a lumberjack. Go talk. So I drop the axe. I walk around the fence, don't know what I'm going to say, and there's a parcel that separates us that's part of that other lot. I'll show you. The guy opens the door, we introduce each other, I make small talk. Hey, I own the land next door, I'm developing it, if I need extra parking, what are you doing with this lot next door here? He said, I just decided last night to sell this building. Why don't you come look at it? I said, I'm filthy, my boots are filthy. Come on in, walk in. About 30 years prior to this, I sketched out what I wanted my dream office to look like. I walk in the front door, and this was the layout. This was an old building that he just finished renovating for his business. And about a year into it, a company came in and bought him out. And they decided the night before, they sold their business, they didn't want to own the building anymore, and they were going to put it on the market. And now we meet on a Sunday, where I was supposed to be in another country. And the voice came to me and said, go talk to him, and I listened. So we start walking through this building. We get to the back, there's a big warehouse, and I'm standing back there. And he said, this is what I'm looking for, which was actually cheaper than what it was going to cost me to build. Bids. A little more expensive than I wanted to build, but I already had good communication with my banker. I texted my wife. I said, you need to come see this now. Jumped in the car, came. She knew the guy. Months before, she was at an event on the beach. I was at DE speaking, and they sat at the same table outside on the beach at this outdoor event. There was a festival with the kids, and they hit it off. He was very nice, and they just had a great conversation. I'm standing back watching this. I call my banker. The next day, Monday at lunch, my banker and I go walk through it. He said, buy it. And within 2 weeks, we bought the building. There were some details I'll go through with later. But I'm going to flip this around. We're going to show you the corner that was supposed to be. Now we're in the process of looking at developing this corner. So now we've got a lot of real estate going on here. You'll see a sign where we're doing a land lease. I'm not going to sell it. Land doesn't come up again. I'm going to develop it. And then we'll pull up to the JFC-3, which is the big office that most of you hear about. So let's flip this baby around. So here she is, just shy of 3 acres on the corner here. Beautiful piece of land, perfectly flat. We had cleared it all out, cleared all the trees out. We had trucks on there ready to build, ready to develop. And then we ran into the mishap, the stress, the struggle. What I thought they were trying to screw me. Look at that piece of beautiful property just waiting to be developed. And then right over here where the tree line ends is what starts this new parcel. So this here where you see those climbing boards, part of the new land of JFC. And look at this building, baby. Judson Family Chiropractic, Part 3. Absolutely gorgeous. Runs all the way through the back here. Now the back was a warehouse that my wife turned into a CrossFit. One of her biggest passions is exercise and helping people. You'll look into the back of it here. So she rents that out, or I rent it out to her. This is the door where the staff goes through. It leads into the kitchen. Eventually we'll show you a video, a bunch of offices. And this whole front corner we rent out. We see a lot of psychiatric patients and kids with emotional stuff. So one of our patients is a counselor, family counseling. They rent out these rooms in the front. It actually has our old logo up there. We haven't changed the sign yet because, as most of you know at this point, we're opening under other offices under the name of Life Family Chiropractic. We're talking about transferring that to here. But look what Innate God developed here. A lot of no's along the way. This parking lot will fill up with a couple hundred people today coming in to get served and have their life. So there you have it, gang. 400 square feet. To 1,000. So this is just shy of a 10,000 square foot building with 5 acres. It's been a blessing. We have the greatest patients in the world. Like I said earlier, it's never been about the dollar sign, but about serving, losing yourself in service and remaining humble. You know, I've always driven trucks and Jeeps, and this is a Jeep, and I don't want to be pulling up in some fancy car and making it about me. It's about the people, about serving people, loving them, changing their lives. But it's also about freedom and owning your own space. And grandmother always said, get involved in real estate. And that's where the bug was in my head. And many people told me, you don't want to own a building, there's headaches, etc. Well, if you're smart, put money away for a rainy day, change out a roof leak or something. The money's there, you just write a check. You got to be smart. But having the correct space to take care of people and the vision to take care of people and the flow and the energy, that's where it's at. So hope you enjoyed this video. 400,000, 10,000 square feet, because we saw it, we took massive action, and we worked.
Oh